Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Ever since Blackbeard showed up with that smug grin, eating pie and saying that a man's dreams never die, something already told us he wasn't just another pirate. In fact, maybe he never was just a pirate. He always knew who he was. He always had a plan. And maybe from the very beginning, that plan involved doing exactly this: attacking the people Luffy loves one by one. But what really messes with your head is that it's not just a cold, calculated plan like I'll hurt him. It feels more like a need, almost as if Blackbeard knows that to extinguish the light of the world, he has to snuff out the ones who carry that light. And with every arc, every move he makes, we start to notice the targets are always the same: those who love, protect, or inspire Luffy. Ace was just the first, and he went straight for the heart. Because we know Luffy loves in a different way. He doesn't need to say it, he doesn't need to be around all the time, but if you're important to him, it's like you become a part of his body. And losing Ace like that, it was like ripping the heart out of someone who lives to smile. Maybe that's exactly what Blackbeard wanted, to take away Luffy's smile. And if we look at what happened next, with Luffy ending up in that internal prison, alone, silent, nearly broken, we might realize that Blackbeard went beyond being just an enemy at that moment. He became a mirror of what Luffy could become if he ever gave up believing. And when we realize that Dragon and the revolutionaries were also targeted, things start to make sense. Because Dragon isn't just Luffy's father, he's probably the one who threatens the world system the most. He's the kind of figure who can't be ignored. Then we remember that strange moment when Blackbeard invaded the revolutionary base and everything seemed oddly silent. No one really knows what happened. The base was burned, and maybe that says a lot, because Blackbeard doesn't act on impulse. He doesn't invade just any base to show off. Maybe he wanted Dragon, maybe he wanted to capture Luffy's father, maybe he wanted to repeat what he did with Ace, but this time with another bond, even more symbolic, even deeper. But Dragon wasn't there. And so Sabo was the one left, and the shadow of Sabo's capture came soon after, as if the world was laughing in Luffy's face again. I think there's a pattern in Blackbeard's strategy. He wants to break the symbols before breaking the man. Because Luffy isn't just muscle, he's memory, he's connection. And by going after Sabo, Blackbeard wasn't just trying to rip out another piece of Luffy's past, he was also threatening to throw the world into chaos. Because by then, Sabo already carried Ace's name in his fight. He was the living torch of the revolution. If Blackbeard got to Sabo, maybe he would have extinguished the flame twice. Then there's Garp. Garp went. We saw it. We know. And even though we have hope, even though we think he'll rise again, what matters now? The intention. Because Garp is more than a grandfather. Garp is the bridge between Luffy and the time when the world still made some sense. He's the symbol of what was right, of what justice meant, of what freedom could be, even inside the Navy. And Blackbeard went after that too. Not just because he knew Luffy loves his grandfather, but maybe because he knew Garp was an obstacle in his path. Garp saw Goldie Roger up close. Garp faced the worst of the world and survived. Maybe Blackbeard thought he had to take on Garp to prove that he truly is the greatest threat the world has ever seen. What really gets me is that Blackbeard is in no rush. He moves calmly. He's not desperately chasing after Luffy, and that says a lot. Maybe he's waiting. Maybe he's lining everything up. First, he took Ace. Then he went after the revolutionaries, tried Sabo, now Garp, and next, could it be Shanks? Because if it is, then things are about to get really ugly. Shanks is almost untouchable. He's the silent shadow that's always been there, protecting Luffy even from afar. He appeared at key moments. He made deals with the Gorosei. He held off Kaido. He stopped the Great War. He's an invisible pillar, but everyone respects him. And if Blackbeard goes after Shanks, it's not just Luffy who will feel it. The whole world will. And maybe that's exactly what Blackbeard wants. I think he wants to erase from existence everything that keeps Luffy human. He wants to take away the dreams, the laughter, the bonds, and only then, when Luffy is at his limit, then he'll show up, because maybe the real final enemy was never the government. Maybe it was always Blackbeard, a guy who knows how to wait, a guy who knows exactly where to strike, and maybe a guy who understands Luffy better than anyone else, because he too was rejected, ignored, cast aside, but he chose the other path. Maybe that's why he hates Luffy, because Luffy, with all his light, achieved what he never could: friends, love, respect. And that's what Blackbeard wants to destroy, because he knows that hitting Luffy isn't enough. What really hurts Luffy is losing those he loves. It's failing to protect. It's arriving too late. And Blackbeard already made him arrive too late for Ace. Almost did it again with Sabo. And now, if we think that the next step could be Shanks, the impact would be devastating. All of this makes me think that Blackbeard might be the most aware character of what's truly at stake. He doesn't just want to conquer, he wants to burn. He wants to destroy everything that represents light and rebuild upon the ashes. He is Luffy's opposite, not because he has an evil laugh or a typical domination plan, but because he understands exactly what makes Luffy who he is. and that's why he attacks the bonds. If this keeps going, if the pattern holds, maybe the next attempt will be someone even closer. Kobe was already captured, and now maybe he's aiming at one final piece, someone who's the last line before Luffy himself. But that's a conversation for another time. For now, part 1 ends here, with Blackbeard crossing names off a list, one by one, a list that maybe only he knows. And Luffy, on the other side, starting to realize that the road to the throne isn't just made of adventures, it's made of losses. And that's exactly where Blackbeard wants him to be. And maybe this sounds a little crazy, but hear me out. What if even Blackbeard doesn't truly know what he's doing? Like, what if what he does, what he destroys, what he touches and corrupts isn't just by choice? What if it's a consequence of who he is? An unavoidable part of the balance of things? Because think about it. Luffy is light. That much is clear now. He's not just the protagonist, not just that stubborn kid with the straw hat. He literally became the sun god Nika. The joy made flesh, the laughter that frees, the movement that never stops. He is the warmth that guides, even when everything feels lost. And for a force like that to exist, maybe the world needs an opposite, a kind of eternal shadow. Not because it wants to exist, but because it has to. Maybe Blackbeard is that. Maybe he's the inevitable reflection of Luffy's existence. Because if Luffy carries within him the power to inspire, to unite, to lift up those who've fallen, then someone would have to exist to do the opposite. Someone who destroys bonds, who erases smiles, who turns unity into betrayal. And man, if there's anyone who fits that role without even realizing it, it's Teach. But that's where it gets even more interesting. I don't think he understands this. He thinks he's in control. He thinks he's the one deciding who falls, who suffers. But maybe deep down, he's just being guided. Maybe he's just a pawn on a board far older than he is. Think about the pattern. He doesn't go straight for Luffy. He goes after those around him, the ones who hold up his emotional core. First, it was Ace. And maybe he took Ace without even knowing what that would mean in the grand cycle. Or maybe he did, who knows? But then, when he invades the revolutionary base, it's not just about power. It's like he's trying to blow out the candles before he snuffs out the sun. Then comes Garp, then comes Sabo, and the world starts to notice that everything Luffy touches is being erased. One by one, like a shadow is stretching across the land, covering the trails of light he leaves behind. But this shadow, maybe it's not a choice. Maybe it's Blackbeard's very essence. We've already seen that his body is strange. We know there's something off about him, that he has multiple souls, or multiple natures. He's the only one who's ever managed to obtain 2 of the most absurd devil fruits. The Yami Yami no Mi, which literally absorbs everything, including hope, and the Gura Gura no Mi, which shatters the world around it. One sucks in, the other destroys. It's almost poetic, as if he was made for this, as if he were the personification of something that shouldn't exist, but must to keep the balance. And that's when I start thinking that Luffy and Teach are like the sun and the void. One shines, the other swallows. One laughs, the other screams. One inspires, the other corrodes. And maybe the world of One Piece has come this far only because these 2 poles have always existed, drifting apart, coming close, but never truly touching. Only now things are different. Now, fate seems to be pushing them toward a point of no return, a place where coexistence is no longer possible, because the light is becoming too strong, and the darkness is getting desperate. Blackbeard might feel that. Maybe that's why he's acting faster and faster. Maybe he's trying to erase everything before the sun rises for good. Because Luffy is no longer just a promise. He's becoming reality. He already has too many allies, too many stories, too much influence. He's become a symbol, and a symbol is what darkness fears the most. Because a symbol doesn't die when the person falls. It stays. It becomes legend, and Blackbeard seems to know that. That's why he doesn't go straight for Luffy, because defeating Luffy now might not be enough. But if he erases everything around him, maybe the light will lose strength. Maybe that will be the one moment when Luffy stops smiling. Because even the sun has limits. And maybe in that moment, the choice will have to be made. Either the sun fades, or the darkness is sealed. And if that's the end, then maybe the world of One Piece will be reborn. With tears, with scars, but with the certainty that light, even when it flickers, never disappears. And then, who knows? Maybe even Blackbeard will find peace. But that's just what I think. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.